Welcome back to another episode of the Parade Lap podcast. This week we are talking about the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. It didn't rain like expected. I apologize for that. I was so confident it was going to be another rainy race. Maybe that would have been a good thing because we didn't have a heck of a lot of action. So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the race?
That's exactly what I thought. I thought it was not as exciting as
Mm,
I thought it was going to be, especially with the sort of pole when like the person on pole, which was George, and then we had Max in the second position. And given what happened in the last race, which was a Spain with the two of them, the very controversial stuff.
mm-hmm.
I think there was a lot of expectation and hype into what was going to be the start of that race and turn one and all of that. And so I think it was a bit of
Mm-hmm.
like expectations versus reality with this race.
Yeah, I think so. I just thought that it was a very long race. The start, you're right, had so much anticipation around it. I thought it was going to be chaos. And it wasn't. Everyone got through relatively cleanly. And then it was just sort of consistent for the
Mm,
race. There were a few good passes and things. And then it wasn't until the finale, pretty much the very end. And then we ended on safety car, which is always a little bit boring, bit underwhelming. But yeah, it was just a long one. I really thought some more things were going to happen. So I was a little bit disappointed.
yeah, I'd say the same thing. Yeah, we had high expectations. There was some interesting stuff. I mean, maybe we'll get into it when we start talking about our podium, but. Okay, there was a bit of things around tire strategy and, how many pit stops you took and if someone was doing something, did you do that to save the undercut and
Mm,
all of those things that were going on. So there were a few teams who were just trying different tactics, I think, to shake up the original order. And so that introduced a little bit of like, oh, can they pull that off or what's going to happen or what? So
yeah.
it was a little bit of that, but yeah, it otherwise didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, I thought the strategies were quite interesting. Some people went really long, like 50 laps on the tires, which is impressive. But yeah, the pit stops, they definitely had they were a factor, but they weren't like any maybe close call ones where,
Yeah.
they come out into traffic and then you think, oh, someone's gonna crash there. Like there wasn't that kind of aspect to it. But yeah, the pit stops were certainly part of it. But it was really hot there, so I'm surprised that they managed to make the tires last so long. It's
Mhm.
impressive. Would you like to start off with your P3 and we'll get into our podium?
I am. I feel like we're gonna have the same podium, but
I think
let's
maybe.
see when you bring up your ones and when I bring up my ones.
Yeah.
So for P3, I put in kind of a theme that we've had, but we haven't had one in a while, is sassy radio messages. And I think the one key person that came to mind in this race was Alex Albon, who has been a sassy radio contender previously this season. But he was just very frustrated in this race.
Mm.
He kind of at one point ignored the team's orders. So they were telling him to box and come in and to change his tires, I think. And he said no, like he didn't want to do that, and he just didn't. And he stayed out. And it was at that point that he just got lapped by like everybody, and he was like dropping down the order. And eventually, he ended up retiring from that race. And yeah, I hadn't heard him so frustrated in a while. So that was the one. And the other was Charles and Ferrari. So classic Ferrari, we've made quite a bit of fun about them and the radio messages this season. A lot of it also with Lewis and his engineer, but Charles this time, I think he thought they could pull off a different strategy, which was maybe like Plan C, and they wanted to go with Plan B.
Hmm.
And he did follow it, but he was really questioning it. Like, why do you guys think this? I don't think this is the case. And so, yeah, he also wasn't happy. So yeah, those were my two sort of like sassy radio messages.
They are very good talking points. Yeah, I had those noted down.
Mm,
Alex was interesting to listen to, and everyone noticed it because it was just uncharacteristic. I mean, he's had a few sassy radio things. He's provided lots of entertainment this season, actually. But yeah, it was just kind of out of frustration. And I wonder if at that point, retiring from a race must suck. But when it's not going well, do you sort of think, oh, okay, well, good? Like, is it maybe a little bit of a relief? Because if you're not going to get points, then, you're sort of like saving
Mm,
yourself the hassle almost.
yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. But Charles, I thought that was so funny. I loved that because they wanted, did they want plan B? And he said, no, I think we can do plan C. And they went, okay, cool. And then they ignored that they had acknowledged that they'd agreed on the plan he wanted. And then he was like, why are we boxing? I thought we were on. Oh, he said, why are we boxing? And they said, we're on plan B. And he said, I wanted plan C. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was like he was agreeing with someone who wasn't listening to him.
I was about
And
to,
then
yeah,
yeah, they just reneged. It was
exactly.
it
It's a
was
little bit,
weird.
it's like a little bit like a parent that just lets their child like have a meltdown event and is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
they just
You
kind
never
of
told
go
me
off.
about that.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. The
Hmm.
radios were probably one of the most interesting parts of this race, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was a good one.
What was
Um,
yours? Your P3?
my P3 was about the McLaren battle, which was obviously quite a talking point at the end of the race. More so, I've put it as my P3 to focus on the fact that Oscar's lead has increased in the championship quite significantly. He had
Mm.
an okay race. He got P4, but Lando obviously took himself out of the running in this race. Not to like cancel him out completely, but yeah, just what happened? Yeah, he just tried to move and it didn't look like it was going to work. In the heat of the moment, I understand how you could just think because they're, split second decisions. But yeah, it was just what are you doing? I think he handled it very nicely afterwards, that he just acknowledged it straight away. Also, it kind of looked like, I don't know how fast they would have been going then, if that was like 330 kilometers per hour, something like that, along the straight. You would think that would hurt bumping into the wall because he dragged quite a way along the wall until he stopped. And then it was just he looked like one of the Lego cars with no wheels at that point. Like the pieces had just fallen off because he was straight away. It wasn't when the team said, "Are you okay?" He just said, "Oh, that was my bad. Like, I'm really sorry." Like, he said it straight away. I was probably more expecting him to say, like, "Ow, that hurt. Oops, what happened there?" But it was quite nice that he owned up to it. So, yeah, it was just a weird one because they were having a good race otherwise. But yeah, watching them try and pass each other was very exciting.
Mm.
The battles they were having. Yeah. I don't know. It was hard. It was like happy for Oscar, sad for Lando.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a messy one.
It
Hmm.
was a bit of a messy one. And your P3 was my P2, so I'll
Mm-hmm.
comment on it now. Yeah, I said the McLaren incident or incident, as like Charles
Mm.
Charles would say. Yeah, it finally happened, right? So they were talking about it
Mm.
a lot. I feel like people manifested it into this race because they literally were getting their comments on what happens if they touch or if something happens in that race.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just felt like such a silly, almost like rookie error from Lando. Like, yes, these things can happen, but you feel like he's better than that. Why? It reminded me a bit of, I think I had it as a meme one of those weeks where it was like, Lando's worst enemy is Lando. Like what, he didn't need to go for that gap that wasn't there. And he did look like he was the faster car at that point. So in the race, so he was setting better times. He had overtaken Oscar, and then Oscar took it back. And I think I also heard this from commentators. If he'd maybe just been a little bit more patient or hadn't tried there, he probably within a lap maybe could have overtaken, gotten another opportunity to do that with Oscar
Mm-hmm.
potentially. Although I know there was the whole thing with DRS because Oscar had DRS on Kimi in front of him, and then Lando had
Mm.
that. And he was trying to do it before Oscar had that DRS gap with Kimi. But yeah, I think he just maybe that was part of it. Lando just thought, okay, if I don't go now, like I'm not going to get an opportunity again. This is kind of it. But yeah, now it's a 22 point difference, I think, with the championship. So Oscar's managed to extend that lead a lot. It's good that it didn't take Oscar out too, because I think then that debrief with McLaren, that would have been
It
really
would have been
interesting, actually.
huge.
That would have been
Yeah.
like, wow. And I think it was also nice how Lando immediately took like straight around the radio, and then I also saw him on the press conference just as Oscar, as before they were about to ask him about it.
Mm,
He was like, "Sorry, that was my fault. Completely my fault. Very silly," and he apologized. So yeah, but.
yeah.
I wonder what that means going forward. And I also wonder if now it'll make Lando more cautious because he knows that he did that and whether it'll change the way he goes for it with Oscar going forward.
Potentially, that will be quite interesting.
Hmm.
I do you see things about the Nico Rosberg curse? Because before the race,
Yeah, what
he
was the
had
curse?
a
I did see
selfie.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's if ever he posts a selfie,
in front of your
usually it's in
car.
front of a
Oh,
team's
yeah.
garage or the car. That means that they're going to DNF or something
Hmm.
bad's going to happen in that race. So he took a photo on the track and turn one was behind him, and it was the Pirelli um, sponsorship, like the branding along
Okay.
that straight. So everyone in the comments went, "Oh no, turn one is cursed." So how we said that there was lots of anticipation that it was Max and George on the front row, and
Yeah.
that was just going to be the ultimate showdown to turn one. So everyone thought, "Oh, okay, well they didn't crash. Turn one mustn't be crashed." And then you cut to the video of Lando scraping the wall, trying to get past Oscar, and it is the exact background that was in Nico's photo. Yeah. So the curse continues, and
Is that what it was?
I don't love that it
Okay.
happened, but I love that that's a thing. That is so funny.
Because I saw
Yeah.
that and I saw the picture of him, but I didn't see anything in the back. Like I didn't see anything there that made me think that it. But okay, so it was the same position. That's okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. I saw a video of it, like it was cut from his photo to
Okay,
the video of
the
it happening.
video.
Yeah.
The one thing
So the
they
curse is real. I think I believe in it.
yes. Oh my God. The one thing I did see about that though is they mentioned it. Is that it was very similar to apparently what happened with Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton in
I
2011 at the
saw that.
same racetrack. So apparently Button tried to do that move on Hamilton and went in where there
Mm.
wasn't a gap. I think Button ended up winning that race, so it didn't affect him that much. Something happened, but yeah, unfortunately for Lando, it didn't pan out like that. But yeah.
No, yeah, I saw that video. It was quite amazing, the parallel, how
Mm,
similar it was. And that was when they were both in McLaren as well. So it was like
mm,
history repeating
thing
itself.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is spooky when stuff like that happens. But it's also amazing to think because if they're going to the same tracks every year for 50 odd years,
Mm,
75 years, I guess, the racing line stays the same, doesn't it? I mean, the cars change, but the track fundamentally stays the
yeah.
same. And so does the racing line. So the fact that things like that don't happen more often, like in terms of probability of that happening, is really interesting. And then for it to happen, shadow for it to be two teammates, McLaren teammates, shadowing the exact McLaren teammate moment. That's quite cool. Like I would love to know the chances of that happening. But
Mm,
yeah, wild.
yeah. What was your
hmm
P2?
My P2, I really enjoyed it. It was about the cool down room.
Ah,
So very exciting podium, which we will probably talk about next or later. Kimi Antonelli was on the podium, so that's very cool. Alongside him was Max Verstappen and George Russell. What a podium! That's pretty cool. So it was the first one of the season where there wasn't a McLaren
yeah.
on either of the steps, I believe.
Hmm.
So that made the cool down room quite a different environment. I was thinking it was going to be quite an icy one, but I thought it was a really wholesome one. I thought it was very nice. I think it was special for Kimi that his teammate George was there, obviously after winning the race. What a result for Mercedes! Also, that's very cool. But then also to have Max. Many people complain about Max about his attitude or whatever, but he is amazing at what he does, and he has been doing that since he was very young. So he had Max and Lance as the youngest podiums. So now Kimmy's alongside them. So I just thought that was really, really cool, quite full circle that Max was up there sharing it with Kimmy, almost like handing over the reins a little bit, I sort of thought. Yeah, but I was impressed with I mean, they're professionals, so they were gonna be fine. But I thought it was a really nice cool down room when it could have been very awkward. But yeah, I saw quite a few memes of them being like divorced parents, like on their best behavior to not ruin it for the kid.
Yeah.
But I think that's sort of the mindset they maybe went into it with, which I just thought was very refreshing to see. I
Mm.
liked it.
Yeah, I had the cool down room as one of my extra things, to kind of comment on. And I also thought it was a lot better than expected, right? So, like you said, I thought that it's going to be really awkward tension with George and Max. Max also when he doesn't win sometimes can be quite like we've had another cool down room where he wasn't so happy. I think that he was in second place, and it was a bit
Any salts in the
awkward.
corner.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. But no, they chatted, and I thought that was good to see. And kind of just had Kimmy there, who was obviously just happy to be there. I think I saw a meme of that cool down room as where I think they just cut to like Max and George or something, and it said something about how like when your mutual friend, the friend that you're both you're both friends with has left, and now you're just left with the person that's your friend's friend,
Yeah.
and not like you guys don't have a very good relationship. So yeah, I thought that was
Yep.
that was funny.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it was just a nice surprise, I think, the cool down room.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that was my P2.
It was cool. I always wish, I mean, I don't know if they only have a certain time limit in there, but it feels like there's more conversation happening and they cut away from it. So it's like they don't hang
Yeah,
around
I'd
there
love to
too
know
long.
what happens
And
afterwards.
it's not like they have to cut away from it. So I don't know why it's like timed. Like you just do that and then that's it. And then they sort of go off and you don't get to hear all of it. So kind of just left
Yeah.
hanging.
I wonder
Um,
if it's a contract thing because
mm,
was it last race where I remember you talking about it. Lando made the Mario
Mario
Kart
Kart,
comment.
yeah.
Yeah. And he went, "Oh, you heard that?" So maybe they thought that was
A cut,
outside of the,
yeah.
say, 2.5 minutes that they know they're on
I don't know.
air
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Because I'm sure, yeah,
Yeah.
there's some stuff where I don't know, need to get changed. Maybe they want to phone their family or they do. There's other things where I've seen pictures come out of the cool down room where it's like, oh, you didn't see all of that happening. So obviously they are in there for
Mm.
for a while. So yeah,
Well,
maybe
they
it is
must
a
hang out
thing.
there afterwards too,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes the photos they look like they've already had the champagne sprayed on them. So they must
Ah,
go
so they
back
go
in there and
back.
grab the
Interesting.
stuff or something.
The
I don't know.
logistics of what happens when,
Yeah,
yeah, you
I'd
go.
just like to see the run sheet of like, drivers walk in at this
Time.
time.
Where
Yeah.
do you go? What do you
Cut
do?
to camera at this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay, so that was your P2, which was
yes.
cool down room.
Wholesome cool down
Down
room.
room, very nice. So I'll go to my P1, which I wonder if it's the same as your one, because you kind of hinted at it, which was the Mercedes double podium. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, I was not expecting that. I don't think I had that on like actually the 2025 bingo card for this year. The race calendar. Did not think that Mercedes was gonna come, go into a race and both of them be on the podium like that so strong. It was really, really good. I mean, obviously George, he had such a good race weekend. He got that pole lap, which was amazing. And then I know we've made a lot of jokes about George this season where we've said he's kind of like lurking in the background and if something happens, he'll just pounce on like P3 and then he ends up being, Mr. Consistent because he is on the podiums. But this weekend he just kind of dominated or handled it in a way where it wasn't, just waiting for something to happen. He was the one to beat. So I thought that was really good for him, and you could see that it made him feel a lot more confident. And then
Yeah.
Kimmy, I was so happy for Kimmy. I was actually hoping that like neither Oscar nor Lando caught up with him because I wanted him to have a podium. They've had so many. Like let this kid like get his first podium, and he did. And he was just so happy with it, and he kind of also said like it was so stressful. Like it was such a stressful thing trying to make sure that, the McLarens didn't catch up with him. but he managed to like hold that. And obviously, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And I also heard that, he'd never raced on the Canadian track. It's not a track that
Oh, is that a new one for him?
yeah, that's what it said. I think it was his
Ah,
first time. It could be, no, I think that's definitely what I heard. Yeah, so it was his first time doing the Canadian track, as far as I know. And he did so well on it, because obviously these rookies don't know all of them. They've driven some of them
mm,
before, but maybe not everything on the Formula One calendar. So, yeah, I just thought that was really good for him. And also because he was having a tough time. He started off really well. And then I think in the last triple header, he had maybe like two DNFs. So,
yeah.
one of them was his home, kind of Italian race, and it wasn't good for him. And so I think this will be like a good kind of confidence boost to just know that he did it. And like you said, he's the third youngest driver to get on the podium. The two, before him are Max and Lance, who are on the grid at the moment. And it was just really nice 'cause also it looks like George and Kimi have this sort of like older brother, younger brother
Yeah.
kind of dynamic. And um Kimmy, in the press conference, I think it was, somebody asked him a question about like what does he learn from Max, obviously, and he did answer it really well, but then he kind of also mentioned that he's learned so much from George and like made sure
Mm,
he kind of gave George a shout out. So they do seem like it's just a team that is happy with each other, between George
yeah.
and Kimmy, and then even like Bono, Kimmy's race engineer, was so happy for him, and Toto. So
Super happy. Yeah.
yeah, it's like they've just got this dynamic that in a way is very wholesome, a bit like
Hmm.
the cool down room. So yeah, just well done to them.
They give off quite a family vibe, Mercedes as a team, I think. I think George definitely has taken the older brother role with Kimi, but he must enjoy that he is like the senior one. He's able to almost mentor Kimi in a way. And he just seems like that's part of how he like maybe shows his respect to the team or like the environment that he's in, that he's just like taking lead and making the most of what he's learned to pass on to Kimmy. Yeah, I think that's really nice. And I really liked seeing how excited Bono was because I think he did an interview. It might have been in it might have been an interview in Kimmy's documentary, the
I
WhatsApp one on
I
Netflix.
think I
Yeah.
know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, where he was like, because he'd obviously worked with Lewis, and then he'd worked with Michael Schumacher
Mm.
before Lewis. So obviously like two of the most accomplished drivers in the sport either. And then to get a rookie, a really young rookie, and he be your responsibility, there would be doubt of, oh, he's not gonna get I mean, they all believed in him, but there was doubt of if that was going to happen, if they were going to get the results. So that was just really, really nice to see that their maybe risk in going with someone a little bit different paid off. Yeah, but it was just really, really cool for him.
Mm.
And it relates to my P1 because my your one was focused on the double podium for Mercedes. I think that's very, very cool. But my P1 is that Kimi got his podium. My all-time favorite part of that relates again to the cool down room. And it was the DRS comment that he made, how they were all
Who to give
joking. I
who to give
loved
it
that.
to? Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, he was just I think he was just speaking his mind because they
Mm.
were watching the replays obviously, and
Mm.
then I don't know who brought it up, but they said like what were you doing in that situation, and he said I didn't know who to give the DRS to, and then I think Max said like what did you do, go down the middle, and then they were
Yeah.
all sort of just giggling about it. Yeah, I really liked that, so I thought it was just a cool thing to see that he was on the podium first of all, but then also he had a bit of fun with it. And again, it was so wholesome just seeing him experience it for the first time. And I saw a video of him following like Big Brother George around because how they go and like hug the team and stuff afterwards
Yeah.
after they get out of the car. George went and did his thing because George has had a few podiums, he knows the deal, he does his pose and everything. Um and then Kimmy was kind of just floating behind him, sort of like following him because he didn't know what to do, which I thought was very, very cool. Yeah, so that was my P1.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was really, really happy for him. He's also like such a likable character. I wonder if it'll change, obviously, as he matures and as he goes, but he just seems like, it's not like he has, doesn't seem like the type of guy that has like a bad attitude, or even like, it's not that
Yeah.
these people have bad attitudes, but maybe you have a bit of a persona, right? And especially if you're, I don't know, going to be a world champion or whatever it is, you kind of either very ice cool or you've got a bit of like
Hmm.
swagger, whatever it is. And Kimmy's just like happy to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just so sweet. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how, what, if that changes over the years.
Yeah, if that develops. Yeah. I guess he sort of has, he could use that as an advantage. I think
Mm,
maybe it's a little bit how people have questioned Oscar if he is like ruthless enough because he's quiet. Like he doesn't seem like he would mm, maybe like stand up for himself. Like he's just reserved. Kimmy could probably, he could be this like, he is very, very good, but he could be this absolute like machine and just, not care about anyone. But he could sort of fly under the radar as like the nice, happy rookie,
yeah.
you know, a little
Yeah.
bit maybe as well like Isaac Hadjar,
Mm,
because we saw in F2 that he's quite fiery, but in VCARB he does the funny TikToks and stuff. Like I think coming in as a rookie, you've got the opportunity to shape your persona, I guess. So the more control they have in that, the better, rather than
mm,
something happening and then the world perceiving them a certain way. But yeah, I think that's quite exciting because they're
yeah.
paving their way and they can do it however they like. Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. The other, I think, nice thing about Kimmy's win was that his dad was there for that race,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened to be on Father's Day, and he was just so proud and so happy, about it. And so that was really nice that he was there for that, on the day that he got his podium.
I love when stuff like that happens, that
Mm,
it just ends up that their parents are there out of the
yeah.
24 races. Maybe the parents go to maybe five, is probably quite a lot for some of them.
Mm,
Some of them go to more than others, but when they're there for the special ones, it's just like, wow, how did that happen?
exactly.
Yeah, I loved that. That was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that was quite a similar podium, like we expected would happen. Did you have any other thoughts about this race?
I thought that was nice that Fernando got points again this race. So it took him
Hmm.
ages. He had no points the whole season, and he got his first one or two in Spain. And then he was back again in the points this race. So that
Hmm.
was really good to see. And then I thought it was interesting that I heard that Lewis had car damage, and then I heard after the race that the reason that he had car damage was because he hit a groundhog. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, and I
Was that
think,
during the race?
yeah, I
Because
think
it
it was,
happened
mm,
during, was it free practice or something?
I
Someone had
don't
one?
know. Oh, I don't know. I think it was during the race because then they found that he had damage. Or I don't know if it happened
Sad.
before and then they found that, but I think it was during this race that he hit it. And
Mm,
they didn't know. And he
yeah, I didn't really know
apparently
about that.
he was quite sad about that because I don't know, he's like an animal
Oh, you'd feel
lover.
awful. You'd
Yeah,
feel
to know that you
awful.
killed one. So that was
Yeah.
what caused his car damage. And yeah, I thought,
Hmm.
oh no, a groundhog here.
Yeah. Speaking of car damage, Alex Albon was that qualifying or free practice, and his engine cover just blew off,
I
and it
didn't
just
see
like
that. Yeah.
ripped away. It was mental. I don't have much information on how that happened, but it just kind of looked like it exploded, and it just peeled away.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was not fastened on properly. I probably should have looked at that for information wise, but yeah, I had never seen that before, and then it's just like bits of carbon fiber just floating behind him. So I think it might have been a practice session. Yeah, there was a few weird things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
What about you? Was there
yeah,
anything else that you thought was worth mentioning from this race?
I thought qualifying was very exciting. It was a cool one. It was disappointing for some people. Yeah, it was. Yeah, some of it was a bit disappointing, like surprising. And then to have George on top, it was just really cool because I watched that as a replay because I was working, but I usually look at the the results. Sometimes I don't want to spoil it, and then I just think, no, watch the whole thing. But I don't know, I just happened to see it. And it was sort of like, oh, what happened to McLaren? Like, why are we so far down? What happened? And then you sort of like go up the list. I was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. And then George on top. And then just thought, that's exciting. And then my eyes flicked back down to Max and just, oh, them next to each other. Yeah, so I just thought the front row dynamic was interesting. And I mean, again, they're professionals, so nothing was really going to happen, was it? But the fact that nothing happened at turn one,
Yeah.
imagine the control that you just, I mean, obviously they don't want to crash because they're
Yeah.
expensive and that affects the team, the money, everything. But if you like really hated someone and they were right next to you and like, they annoyed you a little bit, the mental strength to just block them out and just see them as a another competitor, another car, which they are,
Yep.
um, is quite impressive to think about.
Mm.
Just if you thought about that in everyday life, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
It, that you made me remember though that actually, one of the reasons Kimi ended up being on the podium is that he overtook Oscar in turn one or at the start of that race, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
was actually in P4. So I think Oscar was after qualifying, he started third on the grid. And so, yeah, that was really good by Kimi to have been able to do that and then,
Mm.
maintain that. So he got ahead there and then was able to keep that distance with him and Oscar. Because, yeah, that's the difference between him obviously getting the podium and not getting it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well done to Kimi on managing that. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
Russell just got a really good start compared to Max and was able to hold on to it. And there wasn't no problems there. Um,
Yeah. With the start, I think it was more so watching. I watched the race live, but when they had the replays within the coverage,
mm,
that's when I paid more attention to the start because I think everyone would have been the same. We all just thought something was going to happen at turn one. So you're sort of watching it, like kind of like that's how I would watch like a horror movie, like through through my fingers kind of
that's
thing,
that's what
like
I was
because you're just
doing.
thinking,
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I was doing when
yeah.
the
I was just
McLarens were
hard
racing,
to
by the way.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I was yelling at the screen. I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening? Careful!" And then yeah, why did you do that? Pretty much. But yeah, so the turn one action, or the first few turns really, just as the race was getting into the swing of things,
mm,
there were a few passes, like there were brave moves, but they sort of went a little bit undetected because it was just like trying to like kind
yeah,
of not look if something bad was going to happen. Um, yeah, but the start was actually quite a good one. Yeah, and
yeah.
it definitely was for Kimmy.
It was. And the other thing that obviously I noticed is we mentioned the Drivers' Championship quite a bit in this episode already, with Oscar extending his lead and Lando quite a bit further behind. But Mercedes moved up into second in the constructors off the back of that. So it was
Mm,
very close between Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. But after Spain, Ferrari somehow managed to be second, and now after this, Mercedes has gone and they're second in constructors. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how
mm,
that dynamic between the three teams for the second place plays out.
yeah. Well, hopefully it stays close up
Mm,
at the top because that's fun to watch. But
yeah.
yeah, it was obviously a very good weekend for Mercedes, which is nice because they've had was maybe two or three races where it hasn't been great after being
Mm,
so consistent, and then
yeah.
yeah, it was a good comeback for them. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, nice. Shall we get into our meme of the week?
Yeah.
Would you like to do your one first?
Russell and Antonelli, just the SpongeBob SquarePants one where they are like super happy and have their hands up. And Hamilton sort of looking at them longingly, through the thing, just spying on them, being like, oh. And I wonder if he
Mm-hmm.
does, I wonder if he is doing that, a little bit where he's like, oh, they're doing really well and they look like they're having a lot of fun. So yeah, I thought that one was funny.
A little bit, yeah. Okay, that was a good one. My one was a video. I saw more. I spent a lot of time on TikTok, so that's probably why. But I saw. Do you get lots of AI videos? Of like I see lots of them maybe like historical figures and they make them into like YouTube vloggers. And
Mm.
it's like, hi guys, like I'm here, like, yeah, and these significant things. So I saw one of those of a groundhog saying like, "Hi, I'm at the Canadian Grand Prix. Like, experience the day with me." So it's this groundhog like influencer with a selfie stick saying it's like a great time, and then it's him running away from Lewis. Yeah,
Oh
which
my
is mean, but yeah, I
God.
just found that quite funny. So that
Yeah,
was
the other
yeah,
one
something that popped up that I quite liked.
the other one that I have is kind of related to that, but it's like in memory of those that we lost this weekend. And it was the Ferrari for obviously Lewis for the groundhog. But then I think also in they had Le Mans, the race, the other race,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, motor racing event happened.
The
And
Le Mans 24
yeah,
hours.
and
Mm-hmm.
someone hit a rabbit. So that was there was a rabbit incident and then a groundhog incident in this one. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
poor animals.
Quite low key memes this week, I thought. Like, I didn't see that many. I think because maybe certain moments in the race were memes themselves, like
Mm,
maybe Lando's move, like they didn't need to be turned into anything else. Yeah,
yeah.
but there's quite good ones. What race do we have coming up next? We have
The
Austria.
Austrian one, yeah. So a big one for
Yeah,
Max.
Red Bull Ring. It's a
Mm-hmm.
cool track. I think that would be an amazing one to spectate at because you're on a hill and you can just see so much of
Yeah.
the track. I think it'd be a really cool one.
It's also an interesting one because they all wear orange, and but it's like for obviously Max and like
Mm-hmm.
the Netherlands and Austria, but then it's also could be seen as like papaya, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're supporting McLaren. So yeah, I just thought that's interesting with the color choice there. That
Mm.
it looks like it could be either way.
Yeah, I love
Um,
when Lando and Oscar make jokes about that as well. Like, there's a
mm,
lot of papaya fans here today.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, interesting. What will McLaren be back? Like, was this just an outlier?
Mm.
Um, will we? Yeah. So what's going to play out there? I think will be interesting. And then yeah, does Max? It's obviously his home race. Does he just turn it up and end up
Mm.
winning it again? We'll
Yeah.
see. Any
I
predictions from your side?
I would quite like to see a Max win.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are overdue a Dutch national anthem again. Um, yeah, I just think I love home crowd things. I love like home wins. So for the team, I think that would just be a cool one. Was this the track last year that Lando and Max crashed each other out, where Lando DNF'd? I can't quite remember. I remember the battle really vividly, but I can't remember if it was Austria or not. But yeah, I think it's quite interesting to think about that was championship leaders and it was Lando and Max last year, and then the same thing kind of happened in this race, just being with Lando and Oscar. Yeah, I
Oh
like the Red
yeah,
Bull
yeah,
Ring
yeah. I
track
think it
though. I think
is.
it's cool.
I think it is because I just looked up what the results were for the 2024 one, and
Mm,
George Russell won there, and
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then Piastri was second, and Sainz was third,
Yes,
and then
yes.
Hamilton fourth, and then Max ended up recovering to fifth, I think, after that.
That's right.
So he
Yeah,
stayed in, but Lando went out, and I think,
yeah. It was
uh,
an exciting race last year. I think it's a very cool track. Is it one of the ones where track limits sort of comes into play and qualifying, I want to say, that we have some laps deleted and things. So it should be a good one. I hope it's a good one. Yeah, I'd like to see some more people get some points.
hmm.
Bit more happening at the back of the pack. Would like to see some of them higher up would be really nice. Yeah, just a bit of change would be cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see also if Yuki manages to do anything with the Red Bull.
Mm,
And get it in the points. He didn't.
mm.
I think he started from the back of the grid, didn't he? Like for this race, or it wasn't.
Well, he got a penalty, didn't he? There were quite a few penalties this
Mm,
time out, actually.
but
Yeah, did Liam start from the pit lane? He was the V carb at the back. Yeah, but Yuki had a penalty for overtaking under yellow or red or something during
yeah,
qualifying or impeding. Oh, there was lots of bad impeding actually. Who impeded? What was that? Yuki impeding Carlos or Hadjar did in qualifying.
Okay. Yeah, quite a
Mm,
lot going on there. But I did see Christian Horner do an interview afterwards. They were trying to get him to comment on the McLaren incident, but he spoke about or he actually said that Yuki did a decent drive. So I was like, oh, okay. So he said, from where he started to where he got to, but it just was
mm,
unfortunate that he didn't manage to get be in the points for the race. So
hmm
but like unprompted, he mentioned that it was a decent race for him. So yeah, we'll see what happens with him going into the next one.
I've seen quite a bit of talk about Hadjar being the next one, and I think he did a Beyond the Grid episode, which I will listen to later on.
Mm,
Um, and he was asked like if he got the call up, would he do it? And he said, well, yes. Even though like it's a harder car to drive, he said like I like a challenge, so that would challenge me, and I would learn so much from Max. So I think if that were to happen, another driver swap, because they must be allowed to do one more this season.
yeah,
Yeah, I think Isaac would be interesting, but I really enjoy watching him in Racing Bulls, and I don't think the team would want to lose him because he's doing very well.
mm,
I think he will be Rookie of the Year. I think I guess it's between him and Kimi, but I think Isaac's been more exciting to watch, just in terms of like car performance. I think he's maybe done he has done a bit more than Kimi has because Kimi's got the better car
yeah,
arguably. So yeah, I think it would be between them. But yeah, hopefully Yuki has a weekend that he's happy with because he's just sort of been there.
exactly. Yeah. And if Red Bull want to do anything with the constructors, then they're gonna need to
Mm,
get Yuki in there too. Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, so lots to look forward to. I think that's us for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yep.
It was okay. What do we rate that? What do we rate that race
Not
out of?
as bad as the snooze fest in Suzuka,
Yeah,
but
I think it's only
obviously,
just above that though
yeah,
for me.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
I'd say this is
yeah,
probably the second most boring one, except
yeah,
for that
yeah,
incident, like at the end, and then obviously the standout with Kimi being on that podium
yeah.
and Mercedes surprising us. Yeah.
I think it was on par with Monaco for me. I
Hmm.
think the like 70 laps is a long time for a relatively boring race. So
Yeah.
yeah. Nice. Okay. Well, that was Canada, that was Montreal, and next time we will be talking about Austria and hopefully a very exciting race. So looking forward to that one. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Yeah. See you at the next one.